Kia ora everybody, how are we all? I'm currently filming in a different location, so I'm very squinty as the sun is right in my eyes, which is a lovely problem to have. Very sunny here at the moment, lovely weather. I've had a great last week or so since I've made a video. Just been, working on the land and doing my thing. I have a friend coming over from Australia to spend some time here with me and travel around a bit, which will be incredible. Very much looking forward to that. I hope you're all well. What I wanted to talk about today is the idea of acting locally and thinking globally. So I think it's a fairly easy concept to understand, of the fact that in today's day and age, you nearly always have the option of getting the globalist product, from maybe that fast fashion or that fast food or that mass-produced industrial item, or the local product of the local-made, smaller scale, even more, maybe more artisan, handcrafted goods. Not even necessarily just goods, but even services or anything. It can often be on a small or a global scale. And the idea that it is a much easier way to influence and interact with the world on a local scale. Sorry, not necessarily easier, but a easier way to see that your actions are having what effect that your actions are having in the world. And that if you are acting on a local scale and, providing your members of community, and maybe even your family or yourself, providing jobs, providing different opportunities to have things in the community locally, to having actual produce or products that come from your own community or back garden or what have you. If you're actually acting locally and having more of an influence on your surrounding area and providing that demand for that smaller scale good, that I believe personally that ultimately that actually has a more positive, especially in terms of environmental, has a positive effect on the planet than consuming the globalist good, which in many different ways often is supporting straight up slave labor and the destruction of environments, the loss of jobs locally, and maybe the form of smaller businesses being bought out or run out of business by the globalist businesses. And it's undeniable that a vast majority of the world's wealth is governed through just a few handfuls of companies which own all the other companies. And when you are supporting these fast fashion or fast food or all these conglomerate companies and monopolies, that you're actually supporting these things that they support. And then the reverse is true, in that when you are supporting local, small-scale businesses and people and the fellow members of your community in your surrounding area, or your however you want to whatever scale you want to take it to, that you're doing exactly that. You're actually supporting them, and through that yourself, and through that the planet more so as well, with places that have better environmental practices and better employment practices, better health practices, higher quality, nutritional food, and these kinds of things. And that, it's much easier to have an effect when you are acting locally and thinking globally. So and that's how I like to interact with the world and to see change in the world, is to be doing things on a smaller scale that is actually manageable, because if you're out there trying to change the world, exactly that, like you're trying to change the world out there, it is so much easier to start from, for starters, the world in here, changing yourself and you yourself, how you interact and see the world, but then also changing your immediate surrounding around you, and doing that through influencing and interacting with the people surrounding you and the community surrounding you, and yeah, acting locally. And through that is how you can then change the world. And if everyone was doing this, then that is how maybe more global change would come about. But we live in a day and age where, we live such a privileged life where we can just consume these globally produced goods that we never even have to think where they come from. They're just a package on a shelf or a package mailed to our door. Or, you don't think about the fact that straight up slavery happened to get that to you, or that, people or animals died to get it to you, or that, the environment was actually detrimentally affected to have that quick access. Whereas, yeah, sure, if you want to act on a local scale, I won't deny it, often is a little more expensive. Not all the time, that is not always the case. People like to think that is always the case, but it's not necessarily true. But sure, there's often a little more time and effort, and necessarily maybe even money, involved in acting on a more local scale. But it really is the more natural thing to do, if you will. Oh, the sun's finally going away, I can see again. Natural in the sense that it's more better for everyone involved, including the planet. And yeah, it's more sustainable too. Part of a massive part of our problem is the fact that this globalist scale has allowed us to, our populations to get so out of control, and so everything's so disconnected these days that, we're not even getting our food alone isn't even necessarily coming from our own countries most of the time. A massive part of our diets is imported because we just can't even actually sustain in our own countries ourselves, but unless we changed our habits, and then also how we were contributing to our immediate environment around us. And yeah, there are things that are vastly out of our sphere of influence, if you will, especially in terms of trying to influence change in the world. But yeah, I just invite people to think on a smaller scale sometimes, and try to think about, if you see something that is maybe, I'm from New Zealand, so I'm biased. I like to support New Zealand companies, especially as we're quite a small country with a small economy. If I have the option to, I would always buy the New Zealand made product. Not necessarily always, but nearly always try to buy the New Zealand made product versus one that was just mass produced in Australia or America or one of those countries. And yeah, it's a much more connected and holistic way of living and being, and yeah, can really allow us to be more connected with how the impact that we're having, or the footprint that we're having in the world. So yeah, I just like to invite people to think a little more locally in the small scale. Think about your friends, families. Maybe if you want to buy a good or a gift or something, and you can think of a friend that has, makes certain things or can offer a service, then try to do that. Try allow our friends and families the opportunity to maybe even earn a little money. If you're going to pay for something and you have the option of supporting some random guy who probably basically owns slaves overseas, or a family member or friend that can provide the same service, who are you going to go for? It shouldn't even really be a question, but it is, unfortunately, these days. But yeah, so this is just a little yarn about I feel like there was more that I wanted to say, but I don't even really think it's a big idea to need to elaborate on too much. But yeah, maybe just think a little more on acting locally and thinking globally. Yeah. Good topic, I feel. Hope you're all enjoying the sun. If you're in the sun, enjoying the rain. If you're in the rain is just as important. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.